It Together with Lori Lynn Green talk show is a positive way to start your day. Ready for some encouragement?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm pumped. Let's let the healing begin.
Come be inspired, hear moving stories, even laugh out loud.
Can't make heads or tail of what I'm saying.
Just incomprehensible.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
You'll hear real people doing real things to make a real impact.
You are heroes every day.
Hear honest, compassionate, engaging issues you care about.
You see people come together to do good in our community, and the more we come together, the more good we can do.
Listen in and get started on redesigning your life and hear what's positive in Greater Manchester. Here's your happy host, Lori Lynn Green.
Good morning, friends in Greater Manchester. Welcome to In It Together. We are so glad that you've tuned in. If you want to find us on the web, you can go to inittogether.net, listen live or to previous shows, even link to our Facebook, our Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and so on. And if you like and follow us, you will see we are bringing out the best in people to influence positive change in this community and beyond. Today is It's a Wonderful Life with coach, speaker, and executive director of the John Maxwell team, Marc Major. Marc, what are we talking about today?
Good morning. We're talking about teaching your people to lead.
All right. That's a good topic. We'll be back right after this brief message, so stay tuned.
Marc Major knows that great coaches need constant training to be effective. As a certified coach, teacher, and speaker with the John Maxwell team, Marc can help you identify and activate your personal and professional goals. If you seek to do more and be more, look up Marc on the web at johnmaxwellgroup.com/MARC Major or call 603-674-6818. Marc Major, growing leaders and adding value.
Morgan Self-Storage has been serving Manchester and Salem, New Hampshire for over 15 years. Facilities are heated with security and video surveillance in well-lit hallways, easy access loading, and high-capacity elevators. With many-sized units, portable trailers, and boxes for moving, we can meet your residential or business storage needs. 400 Bedford Street in Manchester or 8 Willow Street in Salem. Visit morganstorage.com or call us at 603-623-2000. Morgan Self-Storage, making self-storage secure, safe, and easy.
Hi, this is Lori Lynn Green, advancement strategist and coach trainer at alphaadvancementstrategies.com. Join me Mondays at 9 a.m. where I'll talk about ways to help keep you moving forward in life. Only on In It Together with Lori Lynn Green. Welcome back to In It Together. We are kicking off It's a Wonderful Life with Marc Major in a great topic this morning, how to train leaders. Boy, we're not training followers, are we?
No, we want leaders. You know, when...
We're an echo over here.
We're an echo. Shut off your phone, Marc. Well, we have the watch party thing going. You know, I'm so new to all this technology stuff. Now we have watch parties, and now we have all this other stuff, and it's like... you know, when they talk about things being user-friendly, mine have to be like downright chummy because I'm just getting to learn. And as soon as I learn stuff and I think I'm catching up, it goes leaps and bounds ahead of me again. So I don't think I'm the only person in that situation, but it just
we're learning.
Keeps you challenged, doesn't it?
We're learning,
yeah,
and that's okay.
And that's the thing. We need to learn every day, and there's so many great tools out there now that we can use. So that's what we need to do. So you know, today we're talking about teaching other people how to lead and leaders to lead. And you know, when you are climbing the ladder of success, so to speak, you don't want to climb by yourself. Because that, you know, when they talk about, you know, it's lonely at the top, well, if it's lonely at the top, you're not doing it right. Well, you want to bring other people with you.
You know, it's funny. You know, this is a really, really good point. And I'll tell you, I call it the Martyr Syndrome, okay?
Yep.
I know because I used to be guilty of this,
Mm-hmm.
okay, where I would do everything myself because I felt like I had to do it myself, to the point where now you're not letting things go and letting other people really take ownership of their part.
Right.
And that can be paralyzing.
Well, it can. And, as a leader, there's things in organizations, like, for example, when I was in sales management and when I was doing advertising, or even when I was in management, when I was in retail management, there's certain tasks and certain jobs that you as the leader and manager have to do.
Right.
'Cause, ordering seasonal product or things like that, or doing payroll. But there's also a lot of jobs that you need to farm out, because there's just too much stuff to do by yourself.
Absolutely. And there's a learning curve there too, because I've even, once you get into the martyr thing that I was telling you before, and you feel like you've tried that, and it's just it didn't work out, because sometimes that's the way it is. You try someone who talks the talk and everything, and then they oversell and underdeliver.
Right.
And so sometimes that's not your fault.
Right.
But learn from it, though. Learn from it and find out why it didn't work. So the next time when you bring somebody on, you know what qualities to look for. And maybe get some references from previous people, which, even if you do all those things, can, sometimes make it hard. But
yeah, well, as the leader, you want to make sure that as you're explaining things, as you're training your people, or even in situations, if you're out speaking or coaching or doing some of the things that you and I do, it's not enough to say, wow, I really nailed that. That was a great talk. It's like, no. It's not good until you know that the people that you were working with actually get it, that they understand where you're coming from, and that they can take that information and move on and actually accomplish the things that you're setting out to help them accomplish. Because no matter how good of a speaker or whatever you think you are, or a trainer, unless people get it, so that's about putting systems in place. When I used to train people, we'll get back to the retail situation again. When I used to train people how to set up an end display or do things like that, first you show them how to do it.
Right.
Then you do it with them. And then you let them do it on their own and come back and observe what they've done. And then you kind of tweak, give them a little bit more feedback, and then let them go. So there's a process to it. And, and sometimes maybe you have to repeat that process a couple of times.
Right.
But if you do that and they get it, and most people, unless people are total morons, which you shouldn't have hired them in the first place.
Well, sometimes it takes time to learn things. If you want to think the best about people, it can be hard.
So sometimes you need to explain things a couple of different ways, maybe, for them to get it. So, good leadership is never about you. It's about helping others.
So here's a couple things. I agree with that. And this is why I take the approach of partnering, not hiring. And people have a hard time with that. If I'm paying them, they get this kind of ego going on, and I'm just like, well, you can do it that way.
Right.
But most people quit jobs because of that situation. So just want to make sure we know that, we have internet radio and live streamers listening. We welcome all of you. We thank you for tuning in today. We do welcome your comments and your questions. As a matter of fact, I think we're going to start paying a little bit more attention to maybe if somebody is commenting on what we're saying, so that we're not going to talk over that, and we're going to be able to include them in the conversation.
I would love people's feedback. I would love people to call in. And here's the other thing, too. Actually, I was thinking on the way over here this morning that I would like to put this out there. We talk about leadership. We talk about all those types of things, leading a positive lifestyle every week. If you have something where, whether you think you're a leader or not a leader or whatever, if you have topics that you'd like us to address, or things in your life that aren't, kind of 100% where you want them to be, let us know. Whether you, do it live here on the show, or just send comments into the page, into In It Together Media. There's all kinds of topics we can talk about.
We are very responsive to anybody who makes comments. We are very responsive, either immediately or within a very short time. Especially if there's a question or anything like that, we will make sure that we address it.
Well, that's what this show's all about.
That's right.
Is helping other people lead a good, positive lifestyle.
So we say, help me, help you.
Exactly. Exactly. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, too, when you're leading other people, the most important person to lead is you.
Oh, my gosh.
Because if you're not leading yourself well, who's going to want to follow you anyway?
Okay, so let's just break this down. Whenever we make a statement, we're going to do it slow now because, we just want to absorb the things that we're talking about. The most important person to lead first is you.
Right.
That is so true. If you're in a position of leadership, we cannot, without being a hypocrite, expect to lead others in something we haven't done or aren't willing to learn.
Right. Exactly. So what I used to love when he was alive, seen him live a few times as well as read all his books, is Zig Ziglar. He always used to talk about giving yourself a checkup from the neck up to see what your attitude was. And, he used to tell people, sometimes you give yourself a checkup and you find out that you're suffering from hardening of the attitudes, so it's like that type of thing. But, I'll give you a perfect example. After the show today, later this morning, I'm going for my annual physical. Well, what are they going to check? They're going to check your pulse. Well, first of all, do you have a pulse? When you're working with people, do they find a pulse? Are you live in there? Are you relating to people? They check your heart. Do you have a heart for the people that you lead? Do you have a heart for leading people?
Right.
Okay, so those are the types of things.
Yep.
Check your pulse. They're checking your pulse. Do you have a pulse on what's going on around you, whether you're trying to lead people in your family, in your church, in your business? It doesn't matter. We all, from time to time, have various leadership responsibilities in different places, even sometimes when people don't realize they have leadership responsibilities. So, check yourself. As Zig Ziglar used to say, like I said, give yourself a checkup from the neck up. What's your
motives
attitude?
as well.
What are your motives?
Right.
What are you looking to accomplish? And the biggest thing when you're in a leadership position is you need your people to know you have their best interests at heart.
Well, and
ultimately.
this is where I was thinking when you said, do you have a heart to lead people? Being someone who's been able to evaluate and studied in personalities and things like that, there are people who are born leaders, natural leaders, and then learned leaders. And the ones that are born leaders, every one of them needs redemptive work. Every one of them needs change in their life and in their heart to be able to do that effectively. So when I think about, the born leaders, those are the ones who tend to take charge. They're fearless. They're the first one to step in and do things. The thing they need to grow in a lot of times is the tact in which they do it and the motive that they can tend to mull over people. They can tend to think that they're always right, and then anybody who doesn't agree with them is an idiot.
Well, a lot of times those are, what that DISC certification calls drivers. They're driven and, they want to get things done yesterday. And I think sometimes those people, as great as they want to be, let's charge up the hill, they're not really going to accomplish what they want to accomplish until they take a step back, take a breath, and see where the rest of their folks are that they're trying to lead. Because otherwise you're going to find yourself 2 miles ahead of everybody else, and they're not even in your rearview mirror. They're like, nobody's following you because you're so far. So sometimes you need to slow down and make sure that people are keeping up with you. And so you've got to take a step back sometimes.
Right. So if we look at, if we're talking about, for those of you just joining us, first off is we welcome your comments and your questions. Today's topic is training leaders. And if you're a leader or want to be a leader, this is the conversation for you. But we want to also offer, if you want to give us a call, you can either comment on there or give us a call at 603-384-3535. If you're watching, share this or start a watch party even better, and include your friends in this conversation, because these are times where we really need to hear these kinds of things. Training leaders. So one of the things I broke down real quick there, Mark, was there's born leaders, natural leaders, and learned leaders. Born leaders are the ones we said are ready to go, but they need to learn how to deal with people in a more gracious manner, maybe make room for other people's ideas, okay?
Right. Yep.
Then we have the natural leaders who they maybe have the gifts and the skills, but they don't have the experience.
Yeah, those gifts and skills aren't fully developed, but like anything else, that comes from experience. And I
Right.
would say for people like that, and they have that inner drive, but maybe they have a little bit, lacking a little bit of self-confidence to actually do it. Start small. You don't have to do everything in one big giant leap. Build on those strengths. Focus and find opportunities to lead. No matter how small you might think that opportunity is,
Right.
it gets your foot in the door. And if you take consistent steps every day to do that, you're going to eventually develop into the leader that you want to be.
Absolutely.
And that's where I find what you and I do with mentorship and coaching. If there's someone who would like to be a leader, but they're maybe not quite there yet, you've had experience leading for several years, as I have, in
Right.
different management capacities and leading groups and other different things.
Over 20 years for me, yeah.
Yeah, over 40 years for me. So it's
amazing.
like,
Well, it just
Wait,
Mark just showed how old he is.
yeah, I started when I was 3. And so anyway, so we have all that experience and knowledge to share. And as people that coach and train, I know I've helped a lot of people to move forward in their leadership skills and things and help bring things out in people that they didn't even know were there.
Right.
But over time, we were able to pull those things out of them, and they were like, wow, I really can do this. You know what I mean?
Right.
So a lot of times it's a matter of us giving people the confidence to be able to understand the gifts that they already have inside of them.
Absolutely, and that's it. And so the last one was the learned leader.
Mhm.
This is someone who has they've learned how to be gracious. They learned how to deal with people. They're gifted and skilled as well, but they
Right.
have experience. And even more important is they've matured. They've done the work. They've let God do the work in them.
Right.
They've developed in the assignment that they were given. And, you can be great here and not great here.
Right.
They're great at building morale, and they empower others.
Right. Well, I'm glad you said you can be great here and not necessarily great there.
Yep.
Our leadership, if you want to look at it on a scale of 1 to 10, if my leadership, like for example, if I was trying to lead a chorus, well, I can't sing for beans. All right.
So
But
that's
if
like I love those sayings. I can't sing for beans. I wonder, did someone once sing for beans?
Yeah,
and then that
they were
became
they were hungry. But you know what I'm saying. But
Yes.
there's other things in my life that I'm very good at
right.
and can lead in. So I guess the key is find what those strengths are, find what
Right.
your abilities are, focus on those things. Basically we're all really gifted in 1 or 2, maybe 3 things, and the rest of the stuff. We have other people around us that are gifted in those other things and have
Right.
those qualities. So that's the thing, is to learn what you're gifted in, work on your giftedness. And then, because what happens a lot of times, people take their weaknesses and try to work on those to make those better. Well, you're never going to get those to the point where you're really
Right.
effective. So work on the things you're good at.
And I'm sure when Mark means when he says work on things, those of you who know me, we know that we can't do anything. Really, it's really not what we do, but what we allow God to do in us. And
Through
so
us,
it's
right.
it's letting Him work in us and through us, and that's really where we are as far as becoming a leader. Has everything to do with having that yielded life and the willingness to grow and to learn and to serve. Instead
Right.
of the goal being the person up front, the goal is to serve even if you aren't the person up front. And
Right.
the Word talks about how, if you go into a place, don't take the front seat, you go in the back, and you let
Right.
them bring you up.
Right.
And so there's an element of humility that has to be there. Leading from a humble place doesn't mean that you're weak. As a matter of fact, I think there's been a lot of misconceptions about that. I believe we can be humble and bold.
Well,
And,
right.
and I think people confuse that with boldness with
Arrogance.
and it's not always.
And it's not.
No.
But if you know what you know that you know, then bring it out. and let
Well, as
people
long as
know
the
about
audience cares.
Well, as long as they care. And, you mentioned, God working through you in all things, but especially when we've had situations that, in the past leading people, you're going to run into tough situations. I've always prayed for wisdom and guidance, and that's what helps get me through as a person of faith.
Absolutely.
It makes a difference.
I would say that goes without saying, but it really doesn't go without saying. We actually have to say it.
People need to hear it.
The faith aspect, we can't underestimate the faith aspect at all.
No.
That is, matter of fact, our whole walk in life is a faith walk.
Right.
Everything we do, every decision we make is a certain element of risk in it. The world calls it risk. I call it faith.
Right.
It's really the same thing if you think about it. It's just taking the right risks.
It's something as simple as when you go to bed at night, having faith that you're going to wake up in the morning.
Well, I actually have lived that.
Yes, you have.
I've lived that where I would just, to get up and be grateful for having every day that you have. And people go, oh, that's so corny. Well, if you died 21 times, you would know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, in fact, whenever I wake up in the morning, I always, say, thank you, God, for another day, another opportunity to, and the next thing out of my mouth is, show me the people you need me to touch today.
It's like, why would we want to waste our time on anything other than being about his business, about what we need to be doing?
Yep.
All right, well, we do have to take a short break. Stay tuned. Those of you who are listening right now, stay tuned. We'll be back right after this brief message. Please support those who support us so that we can stay on air. We'll be right back.
Little Leapers and Knowledge Keepers Childcare and Preschool offers learning experiences that give kids a healthy sense of self and meaningful connections to the world around them. We teach children from a positive perspective so they learn healthy conflict resolution and develop character. Owner Jennifer Lever has over 28 years' experience in child development. She's helped children learn to read as young as 18 months. Join our happy place where we make happy happen, located in Pinardville, bordering Bedford and Manchester. Call today at 603-491-1780.
Hi, I'm Lori Lynn Green, Advancement Strategist and owner of AlphaAdvancementStrategies.com. I've been very successful at helping people overcome stressful situations to get immediate results in their personal and professional lives. At Alpha Advancement Strategies, we provide a non-judgmental and supportive environment, empowering clients to focus more on reaching their goals. You can find us on the web at alphaadvancementstrategies.com or call us at 603-860-9260. Alpha Advancement Strategies is where you invest in yourself.
Hi, I'm Bob Bola, Chief Instructor of Defensive Strategies and anchor of the Personal Safety segment, where we talk about personal protection, situational awareness, and home defense. Tune in every Thursday at 9 a.m. and refuse to be a victim. Only on In It Together with Lori Lynn Green.
Together in the midst of It's a Wonderful Life, talking about training leaders this morning. Very important topic for anybody who is in, any organization who wants to move up or has been ordained as a leader in whatever organization that you're a part of. I kind of was reading a couple of things. One thing was a quote from actually John Maxwell. He said, "Everything rises and falls on leadership."
Absolutely.
And this is true. And true leaders will always take responsibility no matter where the chips fall.
Mm-hmm.
For every problem, they take responsibility for everything that happens there. If you're a business owner, the buck stops here.
Right.
If you're in leadership of a group or, in a church or whatever, it stops here at the leadership. Okay? So a good leader raises the potential of the entire organization, he said. He said a bad leader is a lid on an organization.
Right.
The better leaders get the better the leaders get, the greater the potential an organization has for impact. Absolutely true. Did you have a comment on that?
Well, I was going to say, and the greater the leader gets as far as developing themselves, the better leaders they're going to find to surround themselves. One of the things John talks about is the law of the lid. If you're a scale of 1 to 10, if in other words, if you're a 5, you're not going to attract 7s and 8s and 9s. to be around you,
Right.
because they're not going to want to deal with you for too long. So if you want to attract good people, you have to become good and become attractional yourself.
Absolutely. And we're not again, we were talking about before, it's not about promoting ourselves or as the leader. We don't actually have to do that. We do it more with our example than we do with our mouth.
Right, exactly.
And so I was reading another article. This one was talking about the 3 E's of leadership. Okay, so the first one is environment. Okay, we have people get accustomed themselves to the environment, and they take cues from surroundings. Typically, that's a scientific thing. But it's talking about how, like if you see different neighborhoods and stuff,
right?
You could see inner city neighborhoods that are run down and things like that. And if that's the only thing anyone ever sees in their environment, they don't know any different.
Right.
This is why I like ministries like Roca Kids Club in the city and things, because they take kids out of the alley that they only know, and they take them to places where there's grass and trees in the ocean, or to a movie, and they're like, or even to their home, like, see how other people live.
That they know that there is something better out there.
Right.
That they can strive for. Right.
Yeah, so it's important to not only know the environment that you're in, but to set the tone emotionally, stimulating people the way they think, in their spiritual well-being, and help shape how the next level moving forward can look like for them.
Right. Well, you're right. You need to set an environment where people feel. The number one thing is letting people know that they're valued, as whether it's an employee or just even valuing people as people.
Right.
And that sets the tone for the whole thing. And those are the most productive organizations. When people can come to work or be part of an organization and they feel empowered, that their opinions are valued. Them being there is valued. Their contributions are valued. That encourages people to want to do and be even more.
Yeah, but even a leader though, there's always this balance you got to find. There are always people who are going to want their opinions valued who haven't really proven themselves yet.
Right.
So it's this is where a leader has to really have wisdom and know the difference between someone who should be speaking and talking to other people and someone who should be learning. And if that person doesn't know, usually the person doesn't know, the leader's the one that has the responsibility to pull them aside.
Exactly.
And like we talk about all the time, we do the 2-1-1.
Right.
I think it's a 2-1-1, where it's, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you today. You've been doing some great work. I liked, and give a specific, I liked when you did this the other day.
Right.
And then you bring in, and then that sandwich you say, but what I need you to do now is to pay more attention to this, and then I know you're going to do a great job as always. Right. And you just kind of close that deal. Okay.
Always keep it positive.
All right, so we have a comment over here. So Camille is commenting. She's saying that it's so good if a person genuinely feels cared for and valued, and rapport is built. Absolutely. We have to, just being considerate.
Right.
Absolutely. That kind of environment, what we're talking about, and a lot of times people are like, what do you mean it looks nice here? No, the environment outside of us comes from the environment inside of us. So a leader, first off, I believe, as we talked about faith before, has a certain level of peace and joy and rest in their own life.
Right.
Because what's in us tends to come out of us.
Yeah, it flows out.
It flows out in what we say, how we say it. Is like a spirit, right?
Right.
And so it's very important as a leader that when we're setting an environment, we're not walking around frustrated, irritated, bothered, and even though you're not saying things, people pick up on that. They know something's wrong. They just can't put their finger on it.
Right.
It's better to address.
Right. Well, yeah, what a lot of people don't understand sometimes, it's like, why do we have this negative feel in the room, even though nobody said anything? But we are all energy. And if you're having negative vibes, that energy flows out of you.
Yeah.
It's that negative, it's that negative energy. Whereas if you come in positive, there's people that come into a room and all of a sudden the room is like people are like energized because that person just carries off.
They have
that
charisma,
aura.
things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's other people, conversely, that the energy in the room comes up after they leave.
They suck the life out of the room, and we all know people like these. And this isn't meant to be, oh yeah, I remember Sue, she's like that, or whatever the case may be. It's, as a leader, you always want to have a heart of compassion and love and encouragement towards someone, because if you don't, it'll come across when you talk to them.
Well,
without fail.
Well, the other part of that too is you always want to have that, because that person may be that way, but you never know. We never know what's going on in somebody's life that could be putting them in that position.
Right.
So, one of the things that I value when I'm working with people is really getting to know about them, their background, where they come from, what makes them happy to get up in the morning, all those things. Because then when you really know all of that, and I don't honestly think you can lead people unless you know all these things about them.
Here's what I've learned. Okay, when you work with people, if you can't spend a half an hour over a cup of coffee once in a while with somebody to find out what their dream is and what they want and help them get it. Like, in other words, if I'm leading this organization,
right,
and we have a team, like we had a team meeting last night, I'm thinking there's things they don't know they need to know. I have to tell them and help, not just tell them, but help them do it.
Right.
And then there's things that they have in their heart, and maybe parts of what they're doing feels like, this doesn't feel like me. My job is to find out how to get it to that place.
Exactly.
It's like, well, so it's not my way or the highway as a leader? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
We have to make room for other people's gifts and talents. We have to make room for it, as long as it fits in within the bigger vision.
Exactly.
The methodology, we can't micromanage that. We talked about that last week.
Right. And it's not about, when I think of leading, I don't think about, we talked about earlier being 20 steps ahead of people. It's walking side by side with people and doing things together.
Absolutely.
And was there a third E?
Yes. So the first one was, I don't know if the sound is everything still sounding okay? Everybody, my sound is having issues. I'm not sure why. So the first E was environment. The second one was equipping, obviously making sure that you're training, knowing your people, different things like that. But also seeing if, helping them to learn how to own it, taking initiative, giving responsibility, designating responsibility. So here's what in this, it talks about practical speaking. The equipping process can be broken down into 5 steps. Say it. Explain the task, show it, demonstrate how to perform it, assign it, let the other person attempt it, study it. In other words, that's meditating. Observe how the person performed the task, and assess it. Offer feedback based on their performance. But here's the part that I like in the studying part. I say meditate on it, and teaching people how to tap into the creativity we've talked about. In how does this position or how does this job fit me in my gifts the best way that I can pull it off?
Right.
Giving them a little bit of room to let them do that. That takes a real leadership not to feel like they have to control that. To put that down.
Yeah, those steps are actually the steps we kind of talked about in the first part of the show.
Yep.
But here's another key, and I really didn't touch on this earlier, is when you know your people, some people are really good at those types of things, like we just explained earlier when I was in retail situation. I had a kid, he loved to build end caps and do displays, and when they were all done, he was like really proud about, wow, this looks really good, etc. Then there's other people that hate doing that stuff, but they're good at customer service. So, learning about your people and leading your people properly is also about learning what they do best and putting them in a position to succeed.
Exactly. I love dealing with people. I love creating things new. I love doing that. But I have an accountant. And there's a good reason for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Ain't nobody got time for that when you're me.
Right.
So I'm not going to pretend. I mean, I had taken care of that. I can take care of that. But I avoid taking care of that.
Well, right. Because what happens now as you're growing in an organization and with all the plates that you have to deal with, you
It's
know,
not a good use of my
you don't
time.
need that accountant plate. It's not right. You know, it's taking away time from things that you do best.
Right. And that's it right there.
Right.
Okay, so we're almost out of time. So the first one was the 3 E's of leadership development: environment, equipping, and then the last is exposure. Develop leaders. You expose your people to expert people, other experts.
Right.
We talk about it as making sure you're reading or listening to and following those who've gone before you.
Right.
Real role models, people who have lived it before you. That way they can get more specific experience, maybe internships, that kind of thing, to help them better do what they're doing, and also not just have a vision in their mind, but now have it as practical. Hands-on.
And as people are exposed to more things and maybe another voice, I think that's important too. A lot of times it'll reinforce what you as the leader were trying to explain. I'll give you a perfect example. When my kids were growing up, I used to tell them things and they didn't listen.
Right.
And then somebody else would say something and all of a sudden it was, wow, that's golden. It's like, well, hon, I hate to tell you, I told you this 6 months ago.
Right.
But they're hearing it from a different source, so now it kind of reinforces the point. It's like, well, I guess he was right. So, but that works in any situation, really.
It does.
So, yeah, I would recommend to people, too, if you're a leader and you're training people, one of the best things you can do is train them to the point where now they can be out on their own, and now they're leading people as well. You want to... And that's a gift, too. When you get to the point where you can lead leaders to lead other leaders, now you've got like an amazing organization because things are growing exponentially in the sense that you don't have to have your finger on everything. Now you can be at the top controlling, but you don't have to be, I think of it visually as you're up in the tower, you're the air traffic controller, but you don't have to be flying every airplane, right? You just need to be up there managing what's going on.
CrossNet Inc.
Oops, sorry, that was kind of funny.
So
Yeah, the final thing we were going to close out on as great leadership training really isn't about creating followers. It's about developing other leaders.
Exactly.
All right. So, Mark, I'm going to let you close this out, give some contact information.
Sure. I would love if you have comments or even questions on things like this or how, I might be able to help you with your leadership. You can reach me at 603-674-6818 or marc.major@comcast.net. And love to talk to you.
All right, Mark. Thank you. Great show. Great topic. Tomorrow, if you want to join us for personal safety, Bob Bollard, Master Trainer of Defensive Strategies, will be here helping us stay safe so that we don't have to be a victim. So have yourself a blessed day. And remember, we are in it together.